The vast rotunda of the Echelian Prime Summit Chamber shimmered under ambient starlight projections. High above, domes of crystalline alloy displayed simulations of celestial orbits, a symbolic reminder of cooperation. At least on the surface. In practice, no summit was ever about peace. It was about power, and today, Elias Reeve walked into the lion's den without armor. The human delegate entered alone, flanked by no retinue, no protective drones, no flags. A hush swept over the chamber, brief but sharp. Several Velari delegates shifted in their float chairs, their crystalline appendages twitching in amusement. One of them let out a clicking sound, a laugh, in their language. "Ah, the Earthborn has arrived," murmured Councillor Ussir of the Velari Dominion. His translator bot rendered the words in perfect neutrality, but the sarcasm bled through. "Tell me, Reeve, do your people still crash into asteroids on their way to diplomatic functions?" The chamber erupted in polite chuckles. Even the usually stiff-jawed Kraven observers allowed themselves a grunt. Elias said nothing. He merely nodded in acknowledgement. Walking slowly to his assigned seat, a modest black slab at the outermost edge of the assembly. He was not here to make friends, nor was he truly here to negotiate. On his lapel, hidden beneath the diplomatic crest of Earth, his finger tapped a pressure-coded signal, 3 short pulses. 2 long, then 1 short. A small icon blinked green on his retina display. Connection established. Behind his calm, tired eyes, a private terminal opened in the corner of his neural HUD. Decrypting AutoNet. The code scrolled down in glowing alien glyphs, line after line of encoded communication. At the center of the chamber, a floating platform rose. Supreme Arbiter Cathar, a gelatinous being of the Lurex ascendancy, began the summit's proceedings with ceremonial cadence. "Today we gather not as conquerors, but as architects of celestial harmony," Cathar intoned. Its words layered in 11 simultaneous languages. "Let this cycle mark the renewal of the Galactic Accord." Elias didn't even blink. His fingers remained still. His mind, however, sifted through layers of code like a surgeon separating tissue from bone. With each cracked encryption layer, he burrowed deeper into the private backbone of AutoNet, the tightly guarded communication channel used by the core species of the Accord. His translator earpiece buzzed as a new speech began, this time from High Marshal Alex Vorin of the Razzle Confederacy. Another power broker, another predator in diplomat's clothing. "Let us speak plainly," Vorin declared, its mandibles twitching. "Certain border worlds, particularly those in primitive systems such as Sol, have displayed signs of erratic technological acceleration. For the sake of equilibrium, we propose preemptive containment." A Velari delegate clacked in agreement. Spectral dusk should proceed as scheduled. Elias paused. There it was. A code phrase buried in political fluff, but he'd already seen it elsewhere. Back on his retina, the final layer cracked open. A schematic flickered into view. 4 Razzle stealth fleets. Jump coordinates aligned for Sol system. Primary target, Earth. Operation, * spectral dusk. Estimated launch, * 72 hours. No warning. No declarations, just cold, silent eradication of a species still naive enough to believe in galactic diplomacy. Elias inhaled slowly, barely audible. His eyes flicked from line to line, committing every vector, every fleet composition to memory. "They think we are children," he thought. "They don't expect children to fight back." 2 hours later, he sat alone in his assigned quarters. The summit continued without him. An endless carousel of declarations, proposals, and applause. He didn't need to hear any of it. The lights in the small room were dim, casting soft shadows across the silver walls. Outside the port window, a simulated aurora drifted across the artificial sky dome, a cosmetic touch to ease the Nerves of ambassadors. Elias didn't look at it. He stared instead at the flickering map on his private datapad, the kill routes, the fleet registry, the countdown clock already ticking toward Earth's final hours. He wasn't a soldier. He had never held a weapon, but he had buried his wife after Nyria 9. Buried his daughter's name under the headlines of a technical mishap, and buried every illusion he once had about honor among the stars. He whispered to no one, "I am not a warrior." Then his eyes narrowed, hard like stone under centuries of pressure. "But if they see us as prey, then we must learn how to hunt." Elias Reeve was not born to be a diplomat. At 41, he wore the polished restraint of one, the crisp uniform, the composed gaze, the voice trained to echo precisely in the ears of 100 species. But beneath the surface, beneath the dry protocols and recycled air of interstellar summits, lay a man forged in quieter, crueler fires. He had once been a scholar, a rising name in the field of interspecies psycholinguistics. Back then, he believed in bridges. He studied the way emotions colored syntax across species, how shared trauma shaped mutual vocabulary. Elias had once said, in a lecture to the Terran Institute, "Language is how we teach others not just who we are, but who we aspire to be." He was married to a woman named Alira. She taught xenoneural therapy on Mars. They had a daughter, Lena, born under the dusty red storms, curious from the moment she opened her eyes. And then came Nyria 9. The station was a marvel, a joint scientific project between Earth and the Razzle Confederacy. It orbited a neutron-rich dwarf star and was meant to be a beacon of mutual progress. On the 5th solar cycle of its activation, it exploded mid-rotation, killing 216 personnel. Earth's council called it a containment breach. Razzle envoys blamed human miscalculation. The investigation concluded within 4 days, but Elias had read between the lines. He always did. The power core was not unstable, the logs were altered. Razzle hadn't come to collaborate. They had tested a viral weapon in controlled orbit and used the humans on board as disposable variables. His wife, his daughter, their names didn't even appear in the official broadcast. Just casualty numbers. Elias disappeared from public life 2 weeks later. He spent 3 years moving from system to system, not drifting, but observing. The scholar inside him had not died, only evolved. He began cataloging not just languages, but behaviors **, diplomatic patterns, power consolidations, cultural blind spots. He lived among the Kraven in their gravity wells, learned to breathe methane with the Dorikai, deciphered Velari pulse logic in its native frequency. By the time he emerged again under the Terran banner, his resume had shifted. No longer a scientist, now an independent envoy. An asset, a weapon cloaked in silk. Officially, he represented Earth's exploratory council. Unofficially, he represented no one but the dead. He did not seek peace. He sought leverage the kind one not through war, but through the one true currency of the galaxy, information. He no longer believed in flags or nations. He barely believed in humans. But he knew this: no other species would protect Earth And so, until his bones turned cold, he would play their games, sit in their chambers, drink their liquors, smile at their insults, until the moment came to strike. It was during one such game, a private translation session between 2 elite dignitaries from the Velari and Kalath factions, that Elias caught the signal. They were debating resource routes, trading clipped syllables of electromagnetic pulse code. Elias sat silently, calibrating the neural bridge between them, adjusting frequencies in real time. Then came a fluctuation. It was minor, a burst of subethereal chatter not directed at him. An automated ping from a nearby relay satellite, likely Razzle in origin. Most diplomats wouldn't have noticed. Most didn't have an ear tuned for ghosts. But Elias did. He isolated the frequency, traced the origin, and stored the entire stream inside a secure node of his cranial implant. Later that night, in the privacy of his shuttle pod, he decrypted the fragment. At first it looked like a logistical manifest. Simple numbers, star charts, fuel values. Then the words emerged. Operation Spectral Dusk * Stage II Initiation. Earth Ingress Fleet Status. Mobilizing * T-90 hours. Elias froze. The world went silent, save for the soft hum of life support. Outside the viewport, the stars hung motionless, unaware, uncaring. He hadn't heard that name in 3 years. Spectral Dusk. A phrase once rumored to be Razzle military code for biological subjugation. No treaties, no demands, just arrival, dispersal, extinction. He stared at the transmission, his hands clenched, white-knuckled. Something in his chest tightened, not rage, not grief, but certainty. They were coming. No UN envoy would stop them, no trade pact. No vote. Earth would be glassed, sterilized under the guise of strategic stability. And the galaxy would move on, efficient, clean, unless someone made it ugly. Unless someone made it costly. Unless someone like Elias did what no diplomat was ever supposed to do. He shut the pad. There were no tears, no whispered names. Just a plan, already forming. They think we're still scrambling with rockets and hubris. That will beg for mercy, the way they've taught us to. Let them think that. Let them believe it right up until the sky falls. And when they ask who fired the first shot, he'd already have an answer. Not a soldier. Not a state, just a man who read their messages. The Otho net wasn't meant to be breached. Spanning over 94 sectors, interlaced with thousands of encrypted relays. And monitored by biosentient defense systems, it was the central nervous system of the Galactic Ruling Council, used only for top-tier strategic coordination and enforcement protocols. Even to glimpse its inner directories required not just access clearance, but species clearance. Elias Reeve was neither authorized nor welcome, but he knew how to borrow what he didn't have. In the dark markets of Helios Ring, months before the summit, Elias had acquired an obsolete Kaloth bioempathy node, a device originally designed for species with non-verbal, neural-to-neural communication. These were not tools but extensions of mind tuned to transmit emotion, instinct, and raw cognitive intent directly into compatible systems. The device had been decommissioned, cracked at the core, meant only for collectors or scavengers. But Elias rebuilt it, layering Terran neurolinguistic software over its framework, embedding spoofed Kaloth cortical patterns harvested from archived diplomatic footage. It was a forgery, but a precise one. If calibrated right, it wouldn't just mimic Kaloth brainwaves. It would become **1. Still, he couldn't test it openly. Not on Echelian Prime, so he waited, 3 nights after the first summit assembly. The Great Peace Banquet was held, a gala of holographic splendor, open sky domes, and neuro-stimulated music that resonated differently in every species, sensory range. Delegates danced in vacuum-sealed gardens. Negotiators toasted to imaginary accords. Elias, in a formal tunic, smiled, nodded, sipped synthetic wine. Then vanished. He slipped through maintenance corridors, through auxiliary shafts mapped during his last visit. Each step calculated, timed to bypass sensor sweeps and patrol loops. The deeper levels were silent, walls of polished alloy and quiet humming conduits that pulsed like the veins of a sleeping titan. Eventually, he reached the nest asterisk, a sealed chamber 2 decks beneath the central exchange wing. It was where Otho nets, relay servers interfaced with physical command uplinks, where encrypted signals passed between the great empires like blood through arteries. No doors opened here. There were no keypads or retinal scanners. Only a smooth obsidian arch pulsing with spectral light, designed to respond to thought, not touch. Elias stood still. The Kalath empathy node rested against the base of his neck, its organic fibers wrapping like tendrils into the neural ports behind his ear. He breathed once, then connected. The pain was instant, a full-spectrum surge of artificial thought pressing into his cortex like liquid fire. His vision split into pulses. His heartbeat synchronized with alien code. His memories twisted under neural overlays. Colors and sounds merging into a tapestry of data and intent. He was no longer Elias Reeve. Not entirely. He was a Kalath ambassador relaying vital intel. He was protocol incarnate. The door dissolved. Inside the chamber, data spiraled in the air like living constellations. Glyphs shifted, mutated, danced. He stepped into the core field and uploaded his query, encoded as emotional resonance, not words. "Show me what you hide." The system hesitated, scanned. Verified, then complied. A projection unfolded stark and precise, 4 fleets masked in stealth phase shielding. Positioned at the edge of Terran-claimed space, 2 under Velari command, 2 Razzle, each carrying enough firepower to silence an entire hemisphere. Jump schedule set, synchronization perfected, Earth would fall in 64 hours. Elias stared at the data, memorizing every trajectory, every ship ID, every launch command chain. There would be no public declaration, no battle transmission. Just sudden silence, and no one in the summit above would admit to anything afterward. He reached for the node's override matrix, ready to extract a copy of the entire directive. Then the room flickered red. A voice, cold and synthetic, echoed from the walls. Not a language, not even sound, just an imprint in his skull, unauthorized neural entity detected. Class human, options notify council or neutralize. His breath hitched. He had counted on detection, but not this soon. The security AI wasn't just passive. It had evolved since his last intrusion. Time slowed. Elias didn't speak, didn't move. Instead, he asterisk thought. Hard, he pushed a cascade of synthetic empathy pulses, not to erase his trace, but to rewrite its asterisk. He flooded the system with false memory packets. A Kalath trainee ambassador accidentally entangled in an empathy relay loop. Confused, harmless, logged harmless, then just beneath that layer. He injected a sleeping command, a line of code folded into the rewritten incident log. Harmless unless triggered, but if ever accessed, it would reverse the AI's loyalty parameters, turning the nest's own defense system into a blind spot. His failsafe, the security field shimmered, then dimmed. Asterisk log entry updated. Incident benign. Elias exhaled, sweat beading on his back. He pulled out, disconnecting the node. The chamber sealed behind him without a sound. Minutes later, he stood in one of the outer halls, beneath the quiet whir of artificial wind. The summit's music still drifted above, laughter, clinking glasses, illusions of harmony. But down here, the air felt colder. He closed his eyes, letting the fake wind brush through his hair like breath from a dead world. This wasn't war yet, not officially, but it would be. He stared into the corridor's dim lighting, as if addressing someone unseen. "They think I'm a piece on the board," he whispered. But pieces don't move themselves. His fingers curled into a fist. It's time the board caught fire. Elias didn't sleep for 3 days. Sleep required safety, and there was none of that anymore, not in orbit, not on Earth, not in the corners of his mind. The moment he stepped out of the nest, carrying every encrypted byte of the spectral dusk operation. The countdown had begun, not just for Earth but for him. He had exactly 64 hours to burn the stars. Inside his private shuttle, buried deep within the sublevels of Echelion Prime, Elias activated the one thing Earth's enemies never suspected humans would keep: quantum node Omega-17. It was a relic of an older war, a dark war, the kind fought in shadow between solar flares and dead moons. Omega-17 pulsed to life, hungry for a connection. Elias typed in the old cipher, fingers trembling not from fear but velocity. His mind was sprinting ahead of time itself. Connect. Special Operations Group 7 encrypted channel initializing keyphrase. Omega didn't end. It changed uniforms. For 5 long seconds there was nothing but static. Then a voice, female aged clipped like stone. Reeve, Elias smiled for the first time in years. Hello, Commander. The voice belonged to Aya Lorne Asterisk, former director of Special Operations Group 7, the infamous Ghost Unit, dissolved after the Omega Belt conflict. Officially, unofficially, they had never disbanded. They had simply disappeared. I thought you were dead, she said. I thought you were smarter than that. A pause, then, what do you have? Elias uploaded the data core. Fleet vectors, ship specs, activation orders, tactical blind spots. Command chain fingerprints, everything. When the stream ended, Lorne exhaled slowly. Spectral dusk, son of a bitch. They'll launch in 60 hours, Elias said. You have less if you want to intercept. Lorne didn't ask how he got the data. She knew better, she only said, we don't have the fleet strength. I'm not asking for a battle, Elias replied. I'm asking for a prelude. He sent a secondary packet, simpler, but more dangerous in its own way. Release this across the public galactic grid, every channel. Every archive, make it look like Earth leaked it. Lorne scanned the file. Her eyes widened. This is a mock test of a Terran bioweapon, Elias nodded. But it's fake. Of course it's fake, that's the point. She didn't ask why. 2 hours later, the galaxy caught fire. Across public networks, a sudden classified document appeared. A whistleblower leak, the kind too ugly to ignore and too real to verify. It showed humans, Terran scientists, shadow units, working on a radical bioagent named Null, capable of disabling telepathic communication in higher-order species. The leak suggested field tests had already been conducted in fringe colonies. Several species mentioned were listed as inoculated targets. The source was untraceable, the language was muddled. The formatting, human, but just barely, and that was what made it convincing. Within hours, debate broke out across summit channels. Panic followed. The Velari demanded verification. The Kraven questioned the treaty's legitimacy if Earth had weaponized. Empathy interference. The Kalath, most vulnerable to neural disruption, demanded immediate containment protocols. Council chambers descended into shouting. Hollow panels streamed breaking declarations. Trade alliances were suspended. Fleet maneuvers were halted. 4 minor planetary outposts declared neutrality and refused access to Razzle supply chains. And amidst it all, Elias said nothing. He watched from a safe house embedded in the station's communication shadow. A flickering alcove between security pings. He sipped recycled tea. Let the storm spiral. He didn't need to stop the war. He just needed to slow the launch. But not everyone hesitated. The Razzle **, ever proud, ever brutal, were not swayed by fear. They'd already prepared too long, risked too much. Their fleets had launched the moment spectral dusk was greenlit. In their eyes, humans were bluffing smoke and mirrors like always. There was no Terran bioweapon, no hidden defense grid. Just paranoia and desperation. And so, 4 stealth fleets surged toward Earth, slipping through comet trails. Hiding in gas belts, riding solar winds. Their cloaking systems were generations ahead of galactic detection. Even Earth's orbital sensors, upgraded after the Naria disaster, wouldn't see them until it was far too late. But Elias wasn't counting on detection. He was counting on *** pattern. He had studied Razzle for years. Their tactical rhythms, their staging patterns, the micro-delays between fleet shifts. Spectral Dusk was designed with elegance. Strike from 4 angles, simultaneously, within atmospheric descent. To paralyze global response, but symmetry was their weakness. Predictable perfect, and Earth still had one last card. Project Phalanx ***. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense, not a missile or a drone or even a ship. It was a trap, embedded in Earth's magnetosphere, coded to react only to specific propulsion signatures. It didn't destroy, it revealed, a mirror turned against the dark. Elias had fed Phalanx the fleet rhythms, the approach vectors, the burn cycles. When the Razzle ships passed through the thermospheric band, they didn't vanish. They appeared. The stealth fields shimmered, flickered, and died like candlelight before a vacuum. Every cloaked vessel above Earth was suddenly ** visible. To every satellite, to every lens, to everyone. In the high orbit control deck of the defunct lunar station Helios 2 ***, an automated drone commander reactivated. It scanned the sudden radar surge, recognized the fleet IDs, and triggered Protocol Aegis. Earth's orbital defense grid, long assumed ceremonial, came to life. Thousands of ** rail point satellites dormant for over a decade, began rapid-fire targeting. On the ground, Special Operations Group 7 initiated contingency strikes, hacking into the fleet's command relays using neural disruptions tailored to Razzle architecture. The fleets panicked, their synchronization shattered. And then, without a single missile fired from Earth, the first of them imploded ***. Their own cloaking cores, destabilized by Phalanx, fed back into their reactors. A design flaw, a poetic flaw, a planned ** flaw, one Elias had discovered 3 years ago during a linguistic debrief. Buried in technical documentation, the Razzle never thought a human would read. One by one the ships died, not in glory, not in fire, but in silence. Fleets designed to be invisible were now gone ***. Elias stood on a dim observation deck, inside Echelion's forgotten lower tiers, watching the distant Earth shimmer in artificial projection. He heard the delayed reactions from the council chambers echo through the walls. He didn't smile, he didn't gloat, he just whispered to the empty air, "They launched a shadow war. I gave them a mirror." He stepped back from the window, pulse steady. The real war was still coming, but the first blow was his. And no one, not even Earth, knew it yet. The war did not begin with an explosion. It began with heat, not the kind that blazes on infrared scans or burns through steel, but something subtler, targeted. Channeled and precise, heat that told the truth, heat that stripped away the veil. Elias had embedded the final piece of his strategy in the data packet he sent to Special Operations Group 7. It wasn't just the fleet coordinates or the propulsion signatures. It was a mathematical ghost, a thermal pattern embedded in Razzle cloaking systems, designed to ripple under extreme plasma conditions. He called it Echo Bloom ***, a pulse algorithm that, when run through a focused energy net, would invert ** stealth technology from within, not expose it, not jam it, unravel it, and Earth had exactly the right tool. The ** celestial polarity array ***, nicknamed ** Heaven's Spear ***, was a long-debated, never-deployed satellite network, originally proposed as a deterrent during the solar proxy wars. It used plasma streams amplified by artificial gravitational pinpoints, not to destroy, but to create unstable zones in orbit, where nothing cloaked could exist undetected. The Council had blocked its deployment, the treaties had buried it, but Elias had revived it, through a chain of covert requests, retrofitted commands, and dormant access points scattered across old Terran satellite networks. He had reactivated the platform under emergency override. The Council didn't even know it was functional, not yet. But the fleets did, 17 minutes after entering Earth's upper atmosphere. 3 of the 4 Razzle armadas began to fragment, not from weapons fire, but from within asterisk. First came the distortion fields, rippling into chaos as echo bloom bloomed, like a virus chewing through physics. Then the ships' outer cloaks burst like skin under radiation. Then their plasma reactors, exposed to gravitational interference, collapsed inward, drawing the vessels into themselves in violent implosions. No missiles, no gunfire, just sudden silence then blank space where fleets used to be. Earth didn't fire a shot. It simply watched the enemy walk into their own funeral pyre. The Fourth Fleet, still positioned near Jupiter's orbit, received the abort signal seconds later, not from their Razzle command, but from a Velari override ***. The alliance fractured instantly. The Velari, never comfortable with spectral dusk, now feared retribution. And worse, humiliation. They couldn't afford association with a massacre. So they cut the Razzle feed, disavowed the operation, jettisoned escape pods from the joint command vessels, as if to declare, we were never here. One fleet survived, but it had no home to return to. On Achelian Prime, the fallout came fast. News of the fleet destruction spread in seconds. Delegates shouted in disbelief. The Razzle screamed betrayal. The Velari denied knowledge. Emergency sessions were called. Investigations triggered, and then someone asked the inevitable, how did Earth know? Security logs were pulled. Access traces were scanned. And there, hidden deep within the nest's AI memory bank, was a neural residue Terran cortex imprint. Empathy signal mismatch, unapproved access, pattern, Elias Reeve ***. Within an hour he was arrested. They dragged him from his quarters, silent, cuffed, eyes calm. He didn't resist. He was brought before the *** Emergency Tribunal of Galactic Accord ***, surrounded by hundreds of delegates. Cameras, drones, and translators. It was less a trial than a spectacle. The charge: breach of Council protocol, unauthorized access of strategic networks, dissemination of military intelligence. The punishment, to be determined. Publicly, loudly, he stood alone before the court, no lawyer, no defense, no flags behind him. The Velari delegate who had once mocked him leaned forward, sneering. You violated the accord, Reeve. You jeopardized the summit, the balance, the future. You betrayed us all. Elias said nothing. The Razzle prosecutor's voice buzzed across frequencies. By leaking information, you committed an act of aggression. A declaration of war. Still, Elias remained silent. Finally, the arbiter spoke, a Lurex with a voice like boiling oil. Speak, Terran. Have you anything to say before judgment? Elias raised his head. His voice was quiet, even, measured, but it cut like alloy. I betrayed nothing, he said. Not peace, not balance. Not law, the Velari interrupted. You defied a summit meant for unity. Elias turned to him. Unity built on what ***? Lies, invasions dressed as diplomacy. You leaked classified data. I revealed a genocide. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. You endangered your species. I protected it. Because none of you were going to. A pause, sharp. Unsettling, the arbiter's eyes narrowed. So what are you then, Elias Reeve? a rogue agent, a terrorist. What is your title now? Elias took a breath, then stepped forward unflinching. I am human asterisk, he said, and I refuse to die believing in peace written by those who keep knives behind their backs. Silence. No one laughed, no one jeered, even the razzle grew still. Because deep down, everyone in that chamber knew he was right. Not about the methods, but about the intent. They had all allowed spectral dusk to rise through inaction, denial, or quiet approval. He had simply refused to let it succeed. They did not execute him. Not yet. The tribunal recessed, overwhelmed by politics, optics, consequences. Elias was returned to confinement, not in a prison, but a suspended diplomatic wing deep below the summit towers. Not truly free, not yet caged. In the holding chamber he stared out a reinforced viewport. Far beyond, Earth glowed, safe, for now. Aya Lorne's voice came through a secure line. You bought us time. I know, you'll be remembered for this. Elias didn't reply. After a moment he whispered, just don't waste it. Then he closed his eyes, as the artificial gravity hummed. And the galaxy above began rewriting itself, no longer with Terran blood. The council didn't fall, it fractured. In the aftermath of the spectral dusk exposure and the silent destruction of the Razzle fleets, the Galactic Accord was forced to face what it had long buried under layers of decorum and rhetoric. Its own complicity. Emergency investigations were launched across every member system. Command chains were traced. Private archives, long thought unbreachable, were pulled open by neutral audit AIs. Dispatched from the Zorathi mediation circle **, a faction known for its brutal neutrality. Within a solar week, damning threads began to emerge. Backchannel agreements between Velari tacticians and Razzle war architects. Ghost budgets assigned to cloaked ship production. And worst of all, silence from over a dozen influential species who had known something was coming but said nothing. The fallout rippled fast. 6 council members resigned. 3 species withdrew from the accord altogether. The Velari ambassador stepped down in disgrace. Razzle delegates were expelled from Echelian Prime pending formal war crime hearings. Spectral dusk, once myth, was now historical record. And at the center of it all stood Elias Reeve the human who had never been invited to speak, only to sit, listen, and nod. Now they were forced to listen to him. A tribunal of neutral investigators from the Thaline Collective confirmed the authenticity of the files Elias had exposed, as well as the legality of Earth's response. The quantum transmissions, the plasma field data, the thermal triggers, all verifiable, all documented. There had been no aggression, only preparation, a preemptive defense grounded in knowledge, not firepower. And so, reluctantly, quietly, the charges against him were dropped. The council offered Elias a formal apology. He declined it. Several factions, including the Kraven, the Dorikai, and even the fractured remains of the Velari opposition party, extended invitations for him to serve as a strategic advisor. An intelligence chief, even a diplomat at large, he declined them all. He was not interested in sitting at another table built on diplomatic theater. Instead, he requested one transport, one destination. And a quiet departure. He returned to Cathani a border colony in the Tau Ridge cluster, once a failed mining world. Now slowly repopulated by exiles and settlers. It was also where he had lived, years ago, with Alira and Lena. Long before Nyria 9 became a grave, the house was gone. Buried under a century storm, but the view remained. Jagged cliffs, cold violet skies, a river that shimmered like mercury under the twin moons. Elias did not rebuild the house. Instead, he built **, a library **. but not a traditional one, not a place for books or data pads. Rather, a *** war memory archive, designed to house uncensored records of every known genocide, betrayal, uprising, and unspoken truth uncovered across galactic history. No firewalls, no access restrictions, no redacted files. Everything laid bare, from spectral dusk to forgotten planetary purges on the edge of Kraven space, to classified treaties where peace was bought with the blood of the weak. The archive operated without profit, without flags, and without oversight. It attracted survivors, students, runaways, and sometimes the powerful disguised in civilian robes. Trying to learn what no summit ever taught, Elias rarely spoke to them. He simply watched, until one day a student, young, earnest, Terran-born, approached him at the cliff's edge, where he sat overlooking the windswept valley below the archive. The boy hesitated, then asked, "Do you regret it, what you did?" Elias didn't answer right away. He listened to the wind, let it pass through his coat like a memory not yet ready to fade. Then he said quietly, "Yes." The boy's brow furrowed. "But you saved Earth." Elias nodded, "and I would do it again." "Then what do you regret?" Elias turned toward him, the lines of his face deeper now, carved by silence more than time. "I regret," he said, "that I had to lie, that I had to deceive the very institutions I once believed in. That truth became a weapon because no one trusted it as a shield." The student looked away, unsure how to respond, but Elias' voice softened. "I don't regret acting," he added, "only that we live in a world where acting in defense of truth means becoming the enemy first and the hero only later, if at all." The two sat in silence. Overhead, a transport passed through the sky, slow, distant, forgettable. Peace was returning, or something that looked like it. The boy stood to leave, but turned back one last time. "What are you, Mr. Reeve? A soldier, a traitor, a hero?" Elias smiled faintly. "Just human," he said. The boy left. That night, Elias stood alone in the archive's upper observatory, a dome of glass and silence. Stars unfolded above him, painted against an artificial sky designed to mimic what was lost in polluted atmospheres and orbital clutter. He looked up not to admire but to remember. In this world, this galaxy, peace was a stage carefully lit, always rehearsed. But truth had no costume. It burned too bright to fit beneath diplomacy's ceiling. Elias whispered to no one, "In a world where peace exists only as performance, truth remains the most dangerous thing we have." He didn't cry, he didn't smile. He simply stood there, the man who broke the silence of war not with a bullet but with a mirror. And for once no one was watching, and that was enough.